Oh, no, 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 no. Here, I done a lot of research because when I first, yes, like, yes, so like, let me demonstrate here. So when Halloween the game was announced, and there was already people criticizing it was gonna fail, and I didn't want to believe that. I didn't want to believe that, so I did every single research. I did a lot of research about Iphonics games, and I did a lot of research. Yeah. So here's what I found. No, Predator is actually pretty damn old. It's older than Killer Clowns. Yeah, like look. So here's what. Yep, it's Predator. It's an iconic game. Let me demonstrate here. I'm very confident that it will not fail, and I'm going to explain why. First off, Iphonic, they're not. Yeah, they were Friday the 13th developers, and unfortunately that game went to shit. But it wasn't the developers' fault. The lawsuit fucked everything up, and don't get me started because people have been saying that, oh, Friday the 13th was gonna die even before the lawsuit. It was already dating. So if that was the case, why do we have Part 4 Jason, Jarvis House, Mitch Floyd, Victoria, Roy Burns, Pinehurst, Counselor's Pocket Knives nerfs, Healing Spray nerfs, Jason Rage buff, Part 7 buff, and bunch of bug fixes, and they were gonna add Uber Jason. In the virtual cabinet, they were gonna add Uber Jason. But that was before the lawsuit filed. Well, we already had Savini back then, but they were going to add Uber Jason. But then the lawsuit filed before they had a chance. Yeah, you have to pre-order the game to get Savini. It was a Kickstarter. It was a different story. No, I didn't get the game. The game released in 2017, and I didn't play until 2020. So no, I didn't know. I didn't pre-order it. But but like here's the thing. I probably would, yeah. But here's the thing, though. My point being is that if the devs actually didn't care about Friday the 13th, why do we have all of these updates before the lawsuit? Why did they release about Uber Jason being released or being added before the lawsuit filed? That fucked everything up. Definitely the lawsuit fault, not the devs. And people are going to say I'm wrong and say a bunch of stupid shit to prove me wrong, but my point argument still stands. So what happened to Friday the 13th? Yes, it was made by Iphonic. Gun was the main publisher, and Iphonic was co-publisher for that game. But yeah, it majorly fucked up because of the lawsuit. Yeah, they switched it. Iphonic is main publisher, and Gun is a co-publisher. Yes, I Iphonic calls the shots. Gun is co-publisher, which means they're only going to be doing advertising and funds, and that's pretty much just about it. They're basically assistant to main publisher, but they cannot call anything. And then people will be saying, well, no, no, they cannot. Well, no, they didn't shut the game down. Victor Miller shut that game down. He filed a lawsuit against John Cunningham. John Cunningham and Victor Miller were fighting over the Friday the 13th rights, and the devs got involved in that because they were working with John Cunningham. But if and people will say, oh, if Gun's co-publisher, if they fucked over Iphonic and left, it will screw up the game. No, not really. Like I said, no, it would not. Iphonic would they'd still be good. They would still be good. Yes, and oh, no, 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 no. They're the main publisher. They don't. Here's the truth. Iphonic came in, or not Iphonic. Gunmia came in later during the game's development. They weren't there in day one. It was just Iphonic and John Carpenter and the other IP holder. Gun came in way later. So even if Gun leaves, they'll still be good. They're still good, bro. Well, I heard that originally it was supposed to be developed by Boss Teams, but then I guess Boss Teams got into a major fight with the IP holders of Halloween, so they lost the license and they gave it to Iphonic instead. But as I said, it was a bad timing to do that because Iphonic had to deal with Killer Clowns around that time. That's why that game turned out bad. But here's the thing: um, 2028 September, the lawsuit was filed for Friday the 13th. Iphonic's contract was already completed, so they left. No, 2018. September 2018. No, 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 no. It was 20. It was 20. No, no, no. That's not what I was trying. It was 2020. Okay. Here's the thing. 2018 in September, lawsuit was filed on Friday the 13th. Iphonic's contract was already completed very early on because of the lawsuit, so they left the game to go create Predator Hunting Grounds. But they didn't want to leave it hanging with Gun. So they made a deal with Black Tower to go help support Gun for what happened. So Black Tower came in, helped with all the bug fixes and balance changes. What Black Tower said was true. Because if Black Tower didn't give a shit about the game, we wouldn't have the Jason Rage buff, nor even the HP mask and the bug fixes. So but Iphonic created Predator Hunting Grounds. The game was released in April 2020. It was published by Sony. It was developed by Iphonic and published by Sony. And the game was doing well. Yeah, to this day, it's still getting content, but it's slow. They just dropped a Predator new skin not too long ago. Like a few days ago, they dropped a new Predator skin and a class role. But like I said, the content's going slow because they're working on Halloween, so they haven't had enough time to update their older games. That's what people don't understand. And I hear a bunch of other problems with the game, but I don't play it. The gameplay looks good. I was almost convinced to buy it back in 2020 when it released. I was really close to buying it. I was almost convinced because they actually look pretty damn good. But Friday the 13th was just so good. I just loved that too much that I didn't buy Predator. But it was developed by Iphonic. The game it had 6 million players after release. It did really fucking good. That's way more than DBD. DBD right now has only 70,000 players compared to 6 million players of Predator Hunting Grounds. I know. It did really well, and it maintained that. I mean, sure, players did leave. It was starting to bleed like that. But millions of players is way better than DBD. DBD is still this popular with that many players, and it's not even a million. But yes, over the years, people are complaining. They did update the games. I heard they made Predator better. They made him faster, and they gave Fire Team Squad some faster recovery or whatever. So they did the balance changes. But in 2022, they released another game called Ghostbusters. They made Ghostbusters Spirit Unleashed. I don't know if and it was developed and published by Iphonic. Iphonic was developer and publisher for that game, just like Halloween. Just like Halloween. There was no co-publisher for Spirits Unleashed. Nope, just all Iphonic. So, like I said, this proves my point even more that if Gun leaves Halloween, it don't matter. They'll be good. That proves my point more. So, Ghostbusters had 7 DLCs and 5 new maps and 2 new ghosts. What? Who? Iphonic? I don't know, but people that are saying they will screw over, this is just in case. I don't think they'll leave, but just in case if they do, this is my point argument here. But Iphonic did put good content out of Ghostbusters, but around 2023 they did confirm that they're not going to release any more DLC. So the content of Ghostbusters was dropped, unfortunately, but that does not mean that they abandoned the game. They still said that they're still going to do textual updates. So they'll do bug fixes, they'll do gameplay changes, whatever. That's basically what they're doing. And they're also leaving the door open. They said they're leaving the door open if the IP gives them the word for any new content that they want them to drop. So future content may be possibility. It's a possibility. But as of right now, the game is not getting any updates of content, but updates of gameplay. So it's still okay. Now, that's when they move on and worked on Killer Clowns. And as I already told you about that game, it was a complete shit show. This game made people hate Iphonic a lot. A lot of people talk shit about Iphonic because of what happened to Killer Clowns. Yes. Ever since Iphonic was actually a good company. People didn't talk shit about Iphonic a lot. They made Friday the 13th, they made Predator Hunting Grounds, they made Ghostbusters, and people loved those games. They loved them a lot. But ever since they made Killer Clowns, or not made, but ever since they were involved in Killer Clowns and how it turned out and people saw the title of Iphonic, they started talking crap about them and into Halloween too. But it's not just that though. You got DBD players, Dead by Daylight players, be wanting Halloween to die as well. Some of them, that is, so that DBD can stay the same because they don't want it to be a competitor. But there are some other DBD players that want it to be a competitor because DBD is a shit show right now. Let's be real. DBD is not in a good state. And Behavior has a big studio. Iphonic only has 128 employees in their studio. They're not that big. Behavior has thousands of their workers. They can work on 3 different game projects and still update DBD. Like, I'm serious. But um but they made some major shit too. They fucked up bad. Iphonic makes mistakes. That's true. Every studio's gonna make mistakes. It's nobody's perfect. That's the thing. But Gun or not Gun, but I Behavior fucked up a lot too. Behavior fucked up the Walking Dead chapter. You know that live stream? Behavior literally ignored the most popular content creators that have been playing the game since release. So like, and then the devs ended the live stream and they had to apologize for it. Thing is, Iphonic is the main developer and publisher for Halloween. Gun's co-publisher, John Carpenter, and the other IP holder are also involved in this game's project. That's another thing. And for people that are saying that, oh, the game's gonna get ruined because of what happened to Killer Clowns, let me tell you this right now. Iphonic confirmed that Killer Clowns is still having ongoing support. They will support it, they say. If you look on the wiki, it will actually tell you that. Now, my prediction is that they would do this after the Halloween's release. Because like I said, they haven't updated their older games that often. The games are still getting updates, but it's slow and small because of Halloween. There's... What?
They're saying Halloween's supposed to be this big DBD killer. Do you think it will?
Nah, I don't really think so. DBD's way too popular. I mean, it might stand up, but it's not gonna kill it. DBD is the reason why DBD is way too popular is because you got so many licensed characters. You got Castlevania, Stranger Things, Resident Evil, Silent Hill, Halloween, Hellraiser, Nicolas Cage, even Saw, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface. There's just so many licensed characters in that game. You got Alan Wake in that game too. There's just so many licensed characters that I highly doubt that it's not gonna kill it. Because Halloween, the game, is all gonna be about Michael Myers. That's one license. Compared to DBD that has a bunch of shit ton of license. No, it's not gonna kill DBD. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. But is DBD gonna kill Halloween? Doubt that as well, because Halloween is such a big franchise. Back then, when DBD was first created by Behavior back in 2016, the game was not going too well. There was not that much players. Nobody knew the game. It was bad. It was pretty bad. But then they made a massive comeback by releasing the Halloween chapter, and that's what infinitely made the game popular. Now, imagine how big Halloween franchise is. If it's that big enough to save DBD, it's big enough for this game too. For a Halloween game, the fan base has got to be massively big. There's a way bigger fan base, and even Friday the 13th didn't make it. Friday the 13th fan base is not that big in Halloween. If you take a look at the box office of the Halloween movies, you'll see how much they did. In the top 10 horror slash genre, Friday the 13th is nowhere in that top 10, except for Freddy vs. Jason. But Freddy was involved in it too. So it mainly because of Freddy is in it. Nightmare on Elm Street made it. I Know What You Did Last Summer made it to top 10. Happy Death Day made it to top 10. 4 Scream movies made it to top 10. But there are 2 Halloween movies that made it to top 10. Halloween Kills made it to top 6, almost top 5. The number 1 top 1 movie is Halloween 2018. Not even Scream's Big Return can compete with Halloween. And what's crazy at Scream movie is way younger than the Halloween 2018. Halloween 2018 is actually older than the new Scream movie. And the new Scream movie couldn't compete with Halloween. It only made like $173 million in box office. Now, if you take a look at Halloween 2018, it made $255 million. People are also pissed off because of what happened to TCM and Ash vs. Evil Dead, which I'm pretty sure you know those 2 games.
TCM went peer-to-peer and shut down, right?
Well, it's still going, I heard, but I think it did went to peer-to-peer, yes. But I think it's still going, but not being like updated no more. It's kind of like a Friday the 13th thing, except it's being relicensed. But Ash Evil Dead the game though, I also heard it didn't go well. But those 2 games that I just now mentioned has nothing to do with Iphonic. People keep comparing this. There's a DBD content creator who is kind of right about DBD all the time. He made a lot of videos talking about DBD, and he was always right about every point. So people believe him. He made a video about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, what happened in that game. He explained what happened. And then he also said that the same developers that made TCM are also making Halloween. And that is bullshit. That is not true. What he just said there was false. Well, no. Here I'm going to explain. TCM was developed by Sumo. Sumo Digitals was the developer, and Gun was the main publisher. Now, Ash Evil Dead the game was developed by Boss Teams, and then it was published by the Sonar, the company that you were just mentioning like a few minutes ago, Sabor, yeah. Iphonic never made those two games. Iphonic is the different company. People believe that the same company that made TCM and Evil Dead are making Halloween. That is not true. Because I just said Iphonic was not involved in both of those games, and those two developers, yeah, they were not. Boss Teams was originally going to make Halloween, but they lost that license and they gave it to Iphonic. Well, they had the Boss Team had an argument with the IP holder. They had a massive fight over something I don't know. Yeah, like, and so the IP holders didn't trust Boss Teams, so like they trust Iphonic more because of their track record. They made Predator Hunting Grounds is still being supported, just small because of what I said. They're working on Halloween. Same thing as Ghostbusters. Now, Killer Clowns, yes, it was unfortunate how that game turned out, but as I said, the development was already a mess to begin with. Imagine if Iphonic did not step in to support them. That game would have been canceled. And if it would to be released, it would have been... Yeah, and it would have been, yes, and it would have been delayed for like a next year or so. And it would have been a different publisher. And people will still complain about Killer Clowns of being the same gameplay, except they won't be blaming Iphonic, they'll be blaming someone else. Iphonic kind of took the blame. They didn't really make Killer Clowns, they kind of adopt it. They actually adopt Killer Clowns, but they didn't create it. No, they didn't make it. They're Tisia, I don't know if I say that right. Tisia, whatever. They were the developers of Killer Clowns, not Iphonic. As I said, Iphonic was not the main publisher way back until they took over. Good Chef Bonds Entertainment was main developer. At the beginning of the game's project, there was a complete different publisher. And when the previous publisher left and stopped and pulled the plug and stopped funding developers, that's when Iphonic came in to help support them. So Iphonic came in later. Like I said, Gunmia came in way later for Halloween the game. Iphonic came in, yeah, Killer Clowns. Iphonic came in later in Killer Clowns development. They weren't there at the beginning. That's what people need to understand, and unfortunately they don't. They don't understand it. So like when you hear people saying that, oh, the game's going to fail in like the next 6 months and the player base will drop because of Iphonic this. Yes. I don't think it will.
It'll have some issues, but not as bad as what people are saying.
Yes, and here's the... Yes, and
They fix their issues because Delphonic always fixes their shit.
yeah, maybe not as good as some, or fast enough, that is. Maybe not as fast as Behavior, because as I just said, Iphonic's not a big development team. They don't have a big studio like Behavior did. People need to understand that not every game needs to be DBD. Not every game needs that. There's always going to be different things and different studios besides Behavior. But for the people that are just saying that, oh, it's going to fail in 6 months, they have no idea what the fuck they are talking about. Because first of all, yeah, the reason why I think Halloween will succeed is I just mentioned Iphonic create their games that are still being supported to this day. You got developers that does that and the publishers too. You got the IP holders that are, there's no lawsuits. There should be no lawsuits for Halloween, just like Friday the 13th, because the license holders got along with Iphonic really well. They made a deal. And there's 2 license holders. And Friday the 13th, there was only 1 license holder. There's 2 for Halloween. So we should be good. I forgot his name. McCann is his first name. I don't know his full name. John Carpenter and McCann, something like that. But yep, they've been working together since day one of the game's project, and they've been working on it for years, like almost 2 years max right now. So we should be good. That's one thing I'm going to say. I found it. You got developers and publishers that support their games for years. You got license holders that got along well. And not only that Halloween will be a single or a multiplayer game, they'll also be a single player game. And you have a story mode. Yep. So similar.
I don't like that as a 1v4 though. I think it should be 1v6.
Well, some people say like that. A lot of people say that it should be like that, like Friday the 13th. But let me tell you this: it's actually a 1v13.
Halloween is?
Yep, it's a 1v13, and I will tell you why. Yes, it's true. It's true that it's 1v4. Yes, that is true. But there's 9 bots in this game. The primary goal, yep, in Halloween, the primary goal when you play as a survivor in that game, the primary goal is not only to try to find a way to escape like Friday the 13th, but you also need to go in between houses and warn the residents about Michael's endangerment. It's like, you know, when in Friday the 13th you go into cabinets to loot some items, pocket knives, healing spray, arm yourself basically. You want to do that the same thing as Halloween, except you also need to warn the residents about Michael's threat. And you could do multiple things. People are like saying, "Oh, I don't want to babysit these NPCs." You don't have to babysit them. All you have to do is convince them, and you could do things. You can babysit them if you want, but you can also arm them to protect themselves. You can do that. You could tell them to go hide somewhere, or you could tell them to call the cops and get the cops here. Oh, and let me tell you this: cops will spawn in this game, and they spawn infinitely. There's no limit, which means it's not. They do a little bit. They spawn. Not immediately, but one by one they do. But they will never stop spawning. They will always spawn one by one, always. So it's not just a 1v4, but it's a 1v Haddonfield, the whole town itself. People need to understand that. It's a no, he can kill them. He can actually kill them. Yep, he can. You can kill them. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what I'm saying here. You can actually turn them into a 1v everybody, the whole town. That's what's great. But you have to call them enough though. There's a 3, you know, the wanted level stars in Hollow, or like GTA, you know, the wanted level stars, the more stars they add that in Halloween. You got 3 stars, 3 badges. The first badge is that a cop will just investigate. They'll assume that it's a prank. Like when you play as Michael, when you kill people, the more you kill people, the more evidence the cops will find. You know, Among Us, when you kill people, more bodies piled up. That's basically what it is. But you have the option to hide the bodies as Michael. You can hide them. So if you do that, well, the cops won't find evidence, and they'll assume it's a prank. When the first call goes in, they'll assume it's a prank. One cop will spawn in to investigate. You can kill them or not, but they'll just assume it's a prank, and they won't like spawn in more. But if they actually found evidence, like the bodies, as I mentioned, or if they see destruction, like if they saw window glass break in and doors broken down, windows breaking down, like vandalism, they'll start to get more suspicious, and then more cops will come in. And then a second batch is where more of them will spawn in with guns and rifles that will try to fight you. And then the third star is where a police wagon will come in, and the heroes, survivors, and NPCs can escape that way. They can escape for the police wagon. So, yeah, so you know, Friday the 13th, when you call the cops, you gotta wait 5 minutes and you can save with them. That's kind of like that is, but you have to call them multiple times, and you have to convince them. There's like skill checks or quick time events where you have to convince them. If you don't do it correctly, they'll assume it's fake and they won't believe you. So you gotta be careful. But yes, and you can escape early. Like, you don't have to warn the NPCs. You can just go escape right now. But it's considered a win for Michael though, because then you left the whole town for Michael to fuck up later. So the primary goal really is to just warn as many as you can. Even if they die, as long as you warn them, you'll get points, and you can generally kind of win the game. But you won't get that much HP, yes. Like, so like here's what happened. 2 things happen. So people say that people are worried about the game being like ruined by griefers. Like griefers will just escape and not do shit. Developers confirm If all four of them escape, Michael has the option to stay in the game and just murder people and win. But not only that though, if the police calls come in, if you die or escape, you can come back as a sheriff deputy. So even if you rush and escape really early, you're still gonna play the game, bro. You're gonna come right back as a sheriff. You better play the game. That's just that you're no matter what. Yep.
With the cops.
Yep, you gotta. Yep, along with the other cops that are bots. Some of them will spawn as bots, some will spawn as real players, depending if you kill them or escape. Oh, and you know how if you die in Friday the 13th, you come back as Tommy Jarvis if you radio him? You can call Dr. Sam Lewis.
Samuel Lewis, yes, I know.
Yeah, you can come back as Dr. Sam Lewis. You can either come back as a sheriff deputy or Dr. Sam Lewis. I think this game will succeed. It's different. This game is very different than any of the ASAMs. You know, Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th, all you do is you go up against real players and you try to kill them. More like a playground. It's more like a slasher simulator than an asymmetrical horror game. But it's built into asymmetrical. You don't really want to kill the real players. You mainly want to kill the bots. The more you kill, the stronger you become. You mainly want to kill them first. But you can kill the real players if you want. That's for extra points. So you don't really have to focus on them unless if you want to, but you want to kill the NPCs. That's your primary goal. So the primary objective between killer and survivor all involves around the bots. And people say the bots are really dumb, and they're not wrong. They are dumb, but the developers confirmed that on the live release, they'll be a bit smarter, a little bit smarter. Here's a couple things. Developers confirm Myers is going to get buffed, first of all. Myers is going to get a good buff on release. His blood first is going to build up faster, and I think he does more damage the more he stalks, and I think they're going to double that as well. Second is that they're going to make the timer increase. It's like 12 minutes per game, and people didn't like it because they thought it would be too short. But the developer said for the sake of the people of the demo, they made it like that so that people can play too quick, so that people can come in and play a lot for the Pack East. They confirm, they confirm that on live release they're gonna make it 20 minutes similar to like Friday the 13th. They're gonna bump it up like that on live release, and all four heroes, if they do escape, the game automatically ends. But as I said, on live release though, Michael will have the option to stay and fuck up the town and win. So yeah, and people are saying that the animations are so junky and worse than TCM, but people do not realize that this game is not even officially out yet. We still got 4 more months to wait. I am very positive that they're gonna polish everything up before live release.
They should.
They will. They will. I know they will. So yeah, Halloween is definitely gonna make it. I guarantee you that game will succeed because you have a fan base that is very popular from the franchise of movies. You have developers that supported their games for years, and they will support Killer Clowns eventually until they're done. I say until they're done with Halloween, they're going to support that. And you got IP holders that are really well got along, so we should be good. And they thought of everything out of the gameplay. And just like, if you don't like multiplayer, don't worry. You got single player. You could play offline. You could play offline modes, just like Friday the 13th. But there's also a story mode where you get to play as Michael, and the story is of you breaking out of the asylum and killing everybody and returning to Haddonfield. That's a pretty badass story. Now, as for future content that they might add, they said that they strictly want to keep it 1978. They want to keep it like that. And people say that, this might be bad then because how much content can you push within that time? They can release Halloween 2 sequel. Halloween 2 sequel movie came out the exact same night as the first. They could push out that type of Michael, that map. They should add the map, Haddonfield map of where Laurie Strode was roaming around. You can add that map. You can add the school map from like H2O or even the Halloween 2, just like when Dr. Sam Lewis came in. You can add that. There's a couple of things they can do around the game. And they might release different Myers. They might release different variants of Myers, like they did with Jason. If you want to play part 2, you can play part 2. If you want to play part 7 or 6 or even 9, you could play them. They might be the same. If you want to play the original Myers, if you want to play the Return of Michael Myers, the Revenge, the Curse, Rob Zombie, Halloween, Halloween Kills, Halloween, like they might add that. They might really add that. they're gonna add more heroes too. They're gonna add more character traits and stuff. So like, yeah, I could see this game surviving like over half a decade, like over half of like that, if they do this correctly. If they do this correctly and they add content and keep the game update flow and their other games update flow, a lot of people say that iPhonic is gonna abandon Halloween after 1 year because of the 1 year plan. But there's no full. How? Yeah, that's what I'm. That's what I was gonna say. How do you know that? There's no full proof. I look out live streams. I look at patches. I look a lot of research. There's no proof that they said that. And when I look at their live stream at PAX East, one of the audience did question iPhonic developers saying, "Hey, is there another IP horror that you have planned after Halloween?" And they replied, they answered it saying they have no IP plans for now. They don't know yet. And if they do, even if they do have the plan, it would take a lot of work. So they're mainly going to stick with Halloween and their other games. But yeah, people need to do research. A lot of people are spreading misinformation, saying that, oh, game's going to die, make it 6 months, make it a year, make it 2 years. Oh, Gun's involved. Oh, Gun's the main publisher. iPhonic's not any better because of what happened. Like, people need to do research. They need to stop comparing TCM and Evil Dead to Halloween because iPhonic wasn't involved in those two games at all. Now, there are fans on both. The fans, no, they weren't. They were like as I already said, the TCM developed. No. Saver wasn't involved in that too. Saver was involved in Ash Evil Dead game. No, Gun was involved in TCM though. Gun was no. They have Sumo Digitals and Gun was involved in TCM. Sumo Digitals, they developed that game. Um, Cyber and Boss Teams were in Ash Evil Dead game. TCM had Sumo and Gun. They were involved in that. And iPhonic is mainly involved in Halloween, developer and publisher. Now, what happened with Killer Clowns? Like I said, iPhonic wasn't really involved in that game. It was mainly a different publisher, but iPhonic adopted it. As I said, they came in later to support it. So, um, because if they didn't do that, then their games would be Friday the 13th, Predator Hunting Grounds, Ghostbusters, and Halloween instead of just Killer Clowns. It would have been like that if iPhonic did not came in as main publisher to support Killer Clowns. Yes, it would have been like that. It would have been their road of games. Killer Clowns wouldn't be in it. That's the truth. People like, and what I said everything. If you want full proof, and this goes for anybody watching this video, if you want full proof, do some research. I know that iPhonic wasn't involved in TCM and Evil Dead, and I know iPhonic wasn't even involved in Killer Clowns until midway they were involved, and then they got rushed because of the IP. And I know their games still get updates, but they're just slow and small because one, their studio is not that big, and two, all of them were working on Halloween. Stocky Boy will further prove my point. He said that they put all hands on deck. iPhonic has never done that to any of their. Iphonic has never done that to any of the games. They didn't put all hands on deck on Predator Hunting Grounds, on Ghostbusters, on Killer Clowns. No, they're only doing this to Halloween. They, yeah, because I think Friday was their first ever game they created. So like, yeah, they probably put all hands on deck like Friday. They're doing the same for Halloween now. And that just tells us how much they appreciate Halloween. The developers on the live stream said that when they were making the game Halloween, they asked John Carpenter what is the first thing they need to get this right for Halloween. You know what John Carpenter said? Do what you think is best for the game. And this made iPhonic scared. iPhonic developers said that they were scared to death because they don't want to screw it up. That actually shows how much they care about the game. I think it's the biggest IP ever. It's bigger, yeah. It's bigger than Predator Hunting Grounds. It's bigger than Friday the 13th. It's bigger than any game. Or I could be wrong. I could be wrong, because I could be wrong because I just realized Killer Clowns from Outer Space second anniversary is almost here. It's almost June. Yeah, June 4th, 2024 is when that game released. And then in June 4th, 2020, yeah, and in June 4th, 2025, they did an anniversary update. They might actually do that again this year. So it actually might not be before the Halloween release. It might not be like after the Halloween. It might be before that. They might actually update it like next month early. I could be wrong, I don't know, but like I think their reputation was screwed up badly because of Killer Clowns. If they, as I said, not only that, not really, because of the lawsuit ruined it. And people that will tell you that, oh, it was dying before the lawsuit, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to put that out there. They don't know what they're talking about because I literally just said, if they didn't care, why did we have all the updates and the future content they showed us? They wouldn't have done that. So like, they just don't know what they're talking about. They literally just don't know what they're talking about at all. But yeah, I hope that Killer Clowns will get the good treatment that it deserves, and I'm confident that Halloween will succeed because of all the points I just made. And I'm very confident that I am right because I did a lot of research. I'm very, very confident. The only way Halloween's gonna die is if the community just the only way Halloween's gonna die is if the community, the people themselves, are spreading so much misinformation around the internet, and then people believe those misinformation, and then they don't buy the game, and then the game dies because of the low player count and not the devs. That's the only thing I'm truly worried about. But other than that, though, if besides that, I'm very confident it will succeed. If I've been going around the internet, I've been going around each videos. Anybody who's mentioning Halloween, I've been putting out a lot of comments saying, no, iPhonic is the main developer and publisher. No, iPhonic wasn't really involved in Killer Clowns. That was later. Sure, they should do better. Don't get me wrong. They have to do better, but it is confirmed that they're having ongoing support. They will. If they since they actually confirm it'll have ongoing support, they need to keep that promise. If they finish Halloween and then actually update Killer Clowns, they fulfill that promise. That means that the games that they made were just having slow updates because of Halloween. That's full proof there. If people doesn't spread too much misinformation, and if they actually do research about Halloween and Iphonic's other games, and if the fans from TCM and Evil Dead don't fucking hate Halloween too much, because that would be stupid to do that, because Halloween's made by a complete different company compared to those two other games. If people don't do that, same thing goes for DBD. And if all of the Halloween fans really come and stay for good, I'm definitely playing this game when pre-orders drop. I'm definitely playing it. I'm definitely buying it, and I'm definitely gonna play it. Yeah. If the Halloween players came, and if DBD players and all the other game players that are not made by Iphonic don't shit on Halloween, and if people don't spread misinformation, then I think Halloween will do fine, especially with content. And if everything goes to shit, I'm still gonna play it because you got single player and story campaign. I will still play that game, definitely. If worst comes to worst, I'm still gonna play it.